Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Wire2Wire Sports Podcast. I'm your happy host, the NFL genius, Gene Walzak. And in the upper left corner, I got Kent State's own, Cleveland's own, College Cutro.
Gentlemen, I'm ready for an exciting show. We got a lot to talk about, a lot of topics to go over. Looking forward to tonight.
I'm EA Sports, bro. I'm in the game. EA Sports in the game.
That's going to mean so much more, like a month and a week from today. It's going to mean so much more.
You're right. I can't wait. NCAA football. Shally might get a PlayStation and play it. I don't know. But in the upper right corner, Scholastic Shally, Uncle Shally, Mr. William Shallcross.
Oh, man.
He has no volume once again. That's okay. We are prepared. He will get it rolling, and we are going to get rolling. As soon as he talks, just yell at us, Shally. Technical issue, Shally. We're just going to put that under his name. He's got technical issues every other show. I'm kidding. But we got a lot to get into. NBA playoffs, WNBA talk. It's nauseating at this point. I know it's a top story. I don't want to talk about it again. We're going to talk about it again. We have our trivia question tonight. Shally's 2-0, but if he doesn't have volume, then Cottrell will win, and we'll have to, he'll get a loss off of a technicality.
Given, not earned.
MLB conversations, PGA, the U.S. Open field is absolutely absurd. But before we get into anything, I do want to, somber shout out to NBA all-time great Jerry West, who died today at 86 years old. The logo most known for. I would like to dedicate our show 192 to the logo Jerry West.
And it's only leave. Yeah, no, absolutely. And it's I don't want to make make light of this at all, but it's crazy. You've seen the comments. Bob Cousy just came out and he's like, I'm 95 years old. Like the last thing I want to see, before I go, I already basically got one foot in the grave. I want to see the Celtics hang banner number 18. And then I see they're like, well, Jerry West is like, hey, I don't want to see the Celtics win another championship. So, I think I'm gonna head out. But just in general, though, Jerry West, great for the game. Obviously, as a player, he's the logo, but also even afterwards, Jerry West is the guy who was able to orchestrate some great all-time rosters. So Jerry West was so important to the game of basketball, not just as a player, but what he could do in the front office and putting together teams and stuff like that. So truly sad to see these legends go. First Bill and now Jerry.
100%. Shally, I think we hear you. There he is. Welcome. Hello. Let's get ready to rock and roll. But we're talking about Jerry West passing away. I'll pass the rock to you.
Yeah, I'm sure Cottrell probably said everything I'm about to say. But the man is the logo. I think so highly revered in the league, not only as a player, but also as an executive. Worked for the NBA, obviously worked for the Lakers as well. Just an all-time legend, great guy. He's one of those guys you'll never find anybody that's going to have a bad word to say about him. Crazy to lose him and Bill Walton, in the course of a week. Just two, almost larger than life kind of characters that have, been around the NBA since before any of us, were even born. Just absolute legends of the games. Both great players. And I think you would have no problem saying they are both better human beings than anything. So just a really kind of crappy 10 days for the NBA in terms of, legends, unfortunately passing on.
100%. So we dedicate show 192 to the logo Jerry West. And what other way to start that show by talking about NBA basketball? Tonight we have game 3. Last week we all predicted the series to be 1-1 right now. We were all wrong. Now, that's okay because I've not changed where I'm at. I've not changed my opinion on the series. Game 1, Celtics gave an ass whooping like I expected. Game 2, I just thought, now maybe I'm wrong. I'll get opinions from the panel, but I thought there was a little home cooking. I thought there was a little home cooking with the calls. I felt like Dallas was on the wrong side of a lot of bad calls, particularly the shove in the back, which I thought was egregious and obvious. But maybe somebody else didn't see it that way. But nonetheless, game 2, Luka was a hero. The rest of the Mavs were zeros, and that includes Kyrie Irving, who didn't show up and was now 0-11 at the Garden since leaving the Boston Celtics. That's got to change for them to be able to win this series, obviously. But what were your thoughts on games 1 and 2, Cottrell? And have you changed your stance? You had Mavericks in 6. Let's see if that changes.
Yeah, so I mean, just right out the gate, I don't see this Mavericks team winning 4 straight games. I do still like the Mavericks to win the series, and a big part of that is because what you kind of hinted at earlier on. Kyrie has to be better in this series, and I fully expect him to be. For whatever reason, it just seems like, one reason or another, Kyrie can't win in Boston, and I was fully expecting him to show up, especially after game 1, and you kind of antagonized those Boston fans, and you said you were expecting the boos to be louder. And then game 2, you come out and you still throw up another stinker. I think that with these Mavs players, we say it all the time on the show, your role players are going to play better at home. PJ Washington will hit more threes in Dallas. Derrick Jones Jr. will hit more threes in Dallas. Your guys off the bench, whether it be, Maxi Kleber or Tim Hardaway Jr. or Jaden Hardy, whoever that guy is, they're going to have more confidence playing at home in front of their home crowd. As far as the Celtics, I think they've looked very good. And if you're a Celtics fan, I think you have to be very happy with how they've won the first 2 games. Jason Tatum hasn't had a great game yet so far in this series. At least shooting the basketball, he did a great job distributing the ball in game 2. But when you go off game 1, Kristaps Porzingis being the most dominant player in the game, and then game 2, it's Drew Holiday just doing the dirty work. Sliding back door on cuts or, falling to the weak side, just staying open and staying available to whoever's driving the ball. You have to be happy as a Celtics fan and be confident that they're going to win the series. I just think you're not going to get Kyrie just letting Luka down the rest of the series. Like, I just don't think that's going to be the case. I think Kyrie's going to fight, and we haven't really seen it yet, but I want a game where it's close down the stretch, and you want those guys on Boston to have to make a tough shot with the pressure on, not being up 8, just keeping the lead, maintaining the league, or pushing the league higher, but being down 3 or being down 4 and having to make big time shots to put themselves in a position to win a game. And I think Dallas will make that the case going back home.
And Porzingis has been ruled out for game 3. I think we all expected that. I think this is the whitewash of the series. I don't think they're – and listen, I'm going to tell you something right now. I remind you guys of this every single year when we break down series. It's overreaction central. How's Dallas win a game? I just think they're going to get swept. Like, I can't take that, right? Boston won 2 games at home. The first game, they severely outplayed them. The second game, I don't know if they were outplayed. I felt like it was a lot of home cooking. I'm going to keep reiterating because I watched that game. There was a call in the first quarter. Mavericks are up 5 points. Dallas was in the penalty. And they call Maxi Kleber for like a touch foul away from the play. And Kristaps Porzingis got to shoot 2 free throws.
Yep.
And I'm like, what the hell is that? Like, Luka's getting, like, battered every time he goes to the lane. Kyrie's getting hit. Derrick Jones Jr. is getting hit. And they called, like, a touch foul on Maxi Kleber. And I'm like, what was that? And I just felt like the Zebras were not in the right corner. I would love to see them call the game fair. I felt like they allowed the home cooking of the Boston crowd to call that game, that second game, very one-sided. Just my opinion.
And I think game 1, too, you talk about, like, Boston dominating that game and it being a blowout, but give credit to Dallas for fighting back, because there was a point in the third quarter, I didn't necessarily think Boston was going to lose, but I definitely thought, is Boston going to blow this game similar to how, we've seen them blow other games down the stretch? It wasn't the case, but to me, that just shows me I think Dallas can and will stay in this series.
Charlie, what are your thoughts on games 1 and 2?
I think game 1, Boston was definitely the better team. They came out hot. I was actually shocked because I mean, we talked about it last week, how they tend to have, they open sometimes and they have those mental lapses after long breaks. And I thought they came out really sharp. I think they look good. I think for the most part, I think across the board, they pretty much outplayed Dallas in every aspect of the game. I thought I'm going to say the physicality, but I was shocked, at the disparity of how much Dallas kind of got hurt inside. Even with Porzingis playing, I didn't think it was going to turn the tide of that so much. The second game, I think there was definitely a couple questionable calls. I don't think they cost Dallas the game by any means. I still think Boston just played better. That was also I think that got down to 5 points at one time, but with 2 or 3 minutes to go, Boston was still kind of, I don't want to say handily in charge, but to Cottrell's point there, I never felt like Boston was going to lose that game. But I think it's an interesting point. I definitely don't think you've seen Dallas's best game yet. Kyrie Irving has to have a big night tonight. I think if you would have told anybody through 2 games he didn't make a 3-pointer yet, like that's crazy. He has not played well. I don't know how much of it was him letting the Boston crowd and the whole situation of that whole scenario just getting in his head too much. Luka is just absolutely just gutting it out at this point. And I think a lot of the people that, kind of came down on him for being a little bit soft sometimes or crying about the refs, which I think he does do, but I don't think you can say that kid's soft anymore. He's got a back issue. He's got a bad ankle. He's got a bad knee. He's got more tape on him at this point. I mean, he looks like a half a mummy, and he's still putting up 30-plus points every game. He's balling out. He just needs help. Somebody's got to step up. I think Jaylen Brown's looked, pretty good. Jason Tatum hasn't had a great game scoring-wise. Game 2, I think he had like 12 or 13 assists. He played really well off the ball game 2. Drew Holiday obviously had the big game. But I think Dallas wins tonight. I do kind of tend to agree with Gene. I think they come out on fire. I think they win comfortably. I'm going to say a whitewash, but I think they win comfortably. But Luka needs help. Somebody's got to step up tonight. These role players do have to play better at home, and to the point we always say. I mean, it's really not a series till the home team loses a game. So they win tonight. I think they're fine. But they got to come out. They got to come out. They got to come out sharp, and they got to execute well, and they got to play well right from the gate and take advantage of Porzingis not playing.
Completely agree with you. I'll take it a step further, right? And when I break down this series, I look at it a certain way. I want to ask Cottrell a question because I don't understand basketball enough the way I thought I did. Can someone explain to me why Maxi Kleber is getting minutes? He's playing awful. He was terrible in game 2. Is it the time to go to Tim Hardaway Jr. if you need that instant offense? Like he was in January, Tim Hardaway Jr. had 40-point game, 30-point game, 25-point game. Granted, he hasn't been great down the stretch. What?
He was in the 6th man of the year conversation at that point. I think at the halfway point, like one of us had him as 6th man of the year, like midseason awards.
And granted, he wasn't great down the stretch, and he kind of lost his role in that offense after they traded for PJ Washington because PJ gives them very similar 3-point accolades, but also defends the basketball better. But Maxi Kleber doesn't really do anything. And when you bring him on the court right now, if he's not hitting his threes, which he didn't, he missed 2 wide open threes, why is he on the court? Why not go to a different area? And after he goes 0 for 2 with 2 bad shots to start the game, you bring him back in the second half in big minutes. And I think he was 20 minutes, 4 fouls, no points. Let me just double check. I don't want to just give the wrong stats, but I'm pretty sure his stat line looked, here it is right here. 16 minutes, 4 personal fouls, no points, no assist, 0 for 4 with 2 rebounds.
It's pretty bad.
Yeah, what are we doing?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think that's what I mean. That point has been one of the ones that I've heard most talked about all day is about going to Hardaway Jr. And I think honestly, the intriguing part will be what adjustments Jason Kidd makes tonight. I mean, obviously, you take out Kyrie, just has to play better. But outside of that, what adjustments does he make? Does he have another move up his sleeve? Does he go to Hardaway Jr.? Does he switch up, his rotations? What does he do? Or do they really think that they just didn't play well in Boston and they think they're fine the way they are? I mean, I think that's the real intriguing part of the game for me tonight.
I think for me, you've been seeing more of Maxi Kleber this series because because of the versatility of that Boston Celtics team. With Kristaps being back and having the ability to stretch him out all the way to the three-point line, you can tell that Jason Kidd doesn't feel as comfortable having Derek Lively or Daniel Gafford out there as much as he has throughout the entire playoffs so far. So I think that's really a big part of it. And Maxi Kleber is not necessarily like a true big, but I think he's like your, modern day, small five that you throw out there. And that's also why he's been getting minutes. And Tim Hardaway Jr. is really like a 2 or 3. So it's kind of been tough because you got Josh Green and you got Jaden Hardy, who you've been throwing in. Dante Exum even got some minutes in game 2. So I think it will be important for Jason Kidd to figure out who he's going to play. But I will say I think this game will look a lot different because Kristaps isn't playing. One, I think that opens up the rim a lot more for Dallas to attack. You may see some more lobs tonight because you haven't really seen many throughout the series so far. Kristaps has been a force in the paint. He's, whether it's blocking shots or just altering them, you can tell that Dallas is cautious about going into paint while he's there. With Kristaps not being there, I think that opens up a lot more. And I also think it gives Jason Kidd more opportunities to go through different rotations and maybe play Lively more this game and play less of Kleber. Maybe throw in Tim Hardaway Jr. when you got, early minutes and you just want to see who's going to provide you that spark if you need to potentially sit Kyrie or sit Luka for a little bit of time and just want some offense off the bench. So I think tonight can be very telling, especially with Kristaps not playing.
Yeah, also not a fan of the Dante Exum minutes. Thank you for reminding me of that. And, it was so funny because the broadcast was talking about how Jason Kidd likes that Dante Exum can push the ball. And then on that possession that they were talking about him pushing the ball.
Push the ball into a 3-on-1 the other way. A 1-on-3. Missed.
Into a turnover, basically. Yeah. It was a very bad, I don't know. It was bad timing of it. Jason Kidd really likes the way Dante Exum presses the ball. And here's Dante Exum running up uncontrollable on the basketball, loses it, 3-on-1 break the other way. And I don't know. Never been a Dante Exum guy. He's been a bust since he came out. Maybe he'll find a home. Maybe he'll find a space. I don't think the NBA Finals is the spot to try to find it. I would much prefer see Tim Hardaway Jr., a guy that's proven, got to get hit the big shot. Just my opinion, though. You're talking about a guy that was the number 2 scorer on that team before they traded for Kyrie.
For a long time.
Yeah. Any other NBA Finals talk that we want to get into? We all got Dallas winning tonight. I would love to get your updated predictions, your updated projections on the series. I still have Boston in 7. I think Dallas wins both games in Dallas. I think the most pivotal game in the series is game 5, which I think Boston will ultimately win. I think game 6, Dallas wins. And I think every team holds serve at home, which means, based on Shalley's theory, the series will never have started. It's a joke, but I don't like, that's like one of those sayings I can't stand. The series doesn't start until someone loses at home, because Dallas could never lose at home and still lose the series. I don't believe that's a thing.
Yeah, but then you get a 7-game classic. That's the whole point.
That's what I want. I want that. I'm praying for more basketball. Yeah, no shit, Stephen Chambers. Dallas loses game 3, series is over. Thank you. Appreciate the headline information. I'm kidding, bro. We love you.
I will say this. It's obviously you lose game 3. You're probably not going to – I don't think Dallas gets swept, but, yeah, the series is going to be over. But if anybody has the mindset that the impossible is possible, it's going to be a guy like Kyrie, who's been a part of the only team to come back from 3-1. They still got Luka. They got the best player. They got the best player in the series in Luka. I got the Mavs in 7. I do think if they lose tonight, the series is over. But I'm saying I don't think from a mentality standpoint – though that Dallas team wouldn't just roll over being down 0-3.
Well, to be fair, Kyrie rolled over the last time he was down 0-3 and
didn't have Luka next to him.
We had one of the worst Game 4 performances when Kevin Durant tried to single-handedly win that Game 4 in Brooklyn. But I get it. Do you think Boston's in his head? Do you think it's a head thing?
I mean, I don't think so. I just think that Boston has very good defenders. Like, I think Derek White, you got Drew Holiday, you throw Jaylen Brown on them. I think they're just making life tough on him, and they're throwing different guys at him all the time. And you could tell he just doesn't have a good feel or have been getting comfortable. Like that game, I think it was game 2. You saw Kyrie get stripped like 2 or 3 times just clean. And I feel like that's just something I don't see regularly out of him. You could say it's Boston in his head. I would say that it's Boston just having the guys to ultimately slow it down a guy like Kyrie.
Mo, you can't be serious. Look, bro, he's the best player. Luka is the best player in the series. Mo, I respect your acumen. I do, but we're not saying best player, best offense. He's the best player in the series. Luka is the best player in the series.
He's a cone on defense. I mean, I would give you that. But
32-11-11 tells you anything. It's okay.
It doesn't matter.
I guarantee Luka doesn't go 6 for 22.
He's a cone on defense, but the way he plays on offense, it makes up for it. He's the best player in the series.
I think that Boston's in Kyrie's head. I really believe that.
Like the city or the team?
The city. I believe he'll play much better in Dallas. And then we'll be like, oh, what is Boston going to do to adjust? Is it a finals collapse? Blah, blah, blah. I'm telling you, bro, it's going to – the narrative will change come Sunday night. What was it, Sunday when they play game 4? They have like 7 days off between games. What is game 4?
Game 4 is Friday.
Okay, good. At least we just have a regular schedule this week. Game 4 being Friday. Okay. And then game 5 is Monday. What are we doing?
Well,
by the way, lowest
ticket
rate. It's just so much.
That one's normal. This Sunday to Wednesday thing is weird.
It's ridiculous.
I agree.
It just drags on forever. And it's like, and then you hear like the players are like, oh, the season goes too long. Well, yeah, when you have 3 days between every goddamn playoff game, yeah, that's why your season ends in July. And you got to come back in October. Like, you can't have it both ways.
I'm not disagreeing with you. I think the Garden gets in Kyrie's head, and I think that he needs to have a game in game 3 and 4 to really get his confidence back. Because as much as you want to tell me that the defense of Boston gives him issues, which I believe it does, Drew Holiday was giving him everything he wanted. Kyrie missed a lot of shots that he normally makes. A lot of shots. He had a lot of opportunities. For his jump shot was just off. And I don't think a lot of that had to – I think you might be right. He's not comfortable. Maybe that's the word. Maybe we have to talk about comfort level. But he missed a lot of jump shots he normally makes.
I mean, it's always that fine line. I mean, you see it all the time. Like, Kyrie comes out in the first game and starts hot. Then he's in his head being like, he's obviously still going to get booed, but in his head, he's like, yeah, like, F you guys. Like, I'm going to score 30 tonight. Versus, he starts starts cold, misses a bunch of shots, and they're all over him. And then you just start squeezing everything a little bit more, trying to be a little bit too perfect. And you keep missing some more shots, and then they're squarely in your head, and then you're in your head just being like, I wish everybody would just shut the hell up. So I think when they go back to Boston, he's just got to get to a good start, have a good first quarter, have that confidence, and then then I think he can have a big game. But I agree with Gene. I think they're in his head. I think he gave Boston too much credence, to be honest, and made it too big of a thing. I think he made too big of a thing himself, and then making the comments about the crowd. I think he should have just let it be. You knew you were gonna get booed. Just go out there and play and not worry about it. To go back and forth with them in the finals, I think is kind of a lack of concentration, in my opinion.
I do want to make one more NBA comment before we. This is accurate. I agree with this. I think the Celtics guards making him play defense has impacted his offense. That's fair. I can live with that. The NBA draft is June 26th. I wanted to ask your guys this question. Is this the worst draft that you can ever remember? Like, I'm not like, don't take this the wrong way. This draft class is terrible.
It's I don't want to say it's terrible.
It definitely the class.
It definitely the problem is it lacks it lacks the big name, and that's it's kind of I think you'll have a bunch of guys in this draft that end up being good pros, probably not great, but it doesn't have the star power. And
it reminds me very much of that Anthony Bennett class. Like there was no star. Like you're going to have probably some guys that emerge somewhere in the lottery, but you don't know who's really going over number one overall. I think it's going to be the foreign kid, the 7-footer. I think he's out of France. Like you imagine that he's going to be the number one overall pick. But I mean, this is a class that you could strike gold if you got, pick 10, pick 9, find your diamond in the rough, just because it's really a crapshoot.
No, there's 2 kids out of France. They're supposed to go 1, 2. There's a Zachary Rissachar. I don't know who that kid is. Alex Sarr is the other one.
Alex Sarr is the one who I was talking about.
Yeah. I mean, who's the best player in the draft?
To me, it's Rob Dillon. To me, it's Rob Dillon out of Kentucky. Okay. Like, I think he's the most instant offense. He's the guy who, for Kentucky, he was literally the guy that they said, "Hey, we want you to get the ball. We want you to go make a play for us, keep us in games." And he was never scared of the moment. I think Reed Shepard's another kid that's going to be good in the league, but I think he may take some time, especially if he's going to a situation where he's expected to be the star. And then I like your boy, Gene. Dalton Connect, I think, is going to be a very good pro. I don't think he's going to necessarily be a star, but I do think he will go to a team and be an instant help for that team.
I think Dalton Connect's going to stink at the next level. And none against, I love Dalton Connect. I just think he's going to stink at the next level. I don't think that, he's not going to have any offense that he's going to run into that they're going to let him run it like they ran in Tennessee. Like the entire offense is revolving around Dalton Connect. And I don't think he does anything exceptional. Good shooter.
I hear you on that, but I think it's important when you can go to the next level and you have the ability to create your own shot. Like, it's one thing to just be a good shooter and just stand there, wait for the ball, wait for somebody to pass to you. When you can create your own shot, especially as a guard, I think that gives you opportunity to blossom into a better player at the next level.
Give me a comp?
Oh,
I know I threw that on you, but I don't think any player in this draft. I'll make a statement. I don't think any player in this draft starts an all-star game ever.
See, I disagree with that.
Ever. I think the best player in the draft is Stephen Castle, if I'm being honest with you. But
I don't even have a good comp for him. I don't know. That's a good question.
Very good role players. Absolute best comp he could be. Absolute ceiling. Manu Ginobili.
See, I think he could be better.
You think he can be better than Manu Ginobili?
I do.
Bro, where are we at?
I do.
I would rewind this table.
That's a steep hill, brother.
That's a steep hill. I think
but if
absolute ceiling is what Ginobili was to the Spurs. And that would be a good career.
Oh, for sure. I'm not sneezing at that, but I'm saying I think Dalton Connect down the line. I mean, he's a 6'6" guard that can create his own shot. Like, that's
at the college level. He's not
I was gonna say we gotta wait and see there.
You say at the college level, if you can get a bucket, you can get a bucket.
Don't act like there's not levels to this shit. Because that's coming. Don't act like there's not levels to this shit.
We're just gonna walk into it, I guess.
I'm not saying he's going to be a star right away, or I'm not expecting him to go out and make the Olympic team this year. But I think I think he's going to be a good pro.
I think he'll be good. I just think Ginobili's
I think he'll be better than Ginobili. That might be on the lines of Juan Soto hitting 400. That might be there. That might be there.
Okay, but hear me out. Obviously, Ginobili was great all time, and he's got even more accolades because he played for Argentina. He beat Team USA and things like that. Ginobili was never like a bona fide all-star, is what I'm saying.
What?
I'm saying I think
he wasn't a bona fide all-star. He's right.
He wasn't. He was a 6-man entire career. And I'm not saying it's like a knock against him. Like, I'm not knocking Manu Ginobili for the guy that he was. I'm just saying if Dalton Kincaid is a starter and he makes 3 or 4 all-star games and he wins, like, he could be a guy that's in that conversation.
All right, bro. I'll tell you, I'll put the over under Dalton Connect all-star games at a half. You can take the over if you like.
Look, I'm not saying I'm dug in on it, and
I'm a Dalton Connect guy.
I'm not saying he's a bona fide, 5-time future all-star. I'm just saying he has the tools to go to the right place.
Better version of Ryan Arcidiacono. That's what he is. What he is. He's a better version of Ryan Arcidiacono.
He's better than that, dude.
No,
that's a better version. That's a better version.
That's almost equally as bad as the Ginobili thing.
No, it's not.
Just on the other end.
I didn't say he's a poor man's Arcidiacono.
Well, no, I think you're saying he's worse.
He's like a high school kid.
All right, so here comes the topic I'm dreading. I don't even want to get into this. I don't.
Wake me when it's over.
No, you have to be involved. You have to be involved.
I don't.
You do. By the way, Aces lose their 3rd straight. That's definitely a team I want 4 players going to the Olympic team. Let's get into Caitlin Clark. Let's get this over with. I'm not. What? What'd you say?
What, with 3 of the last 4 titles too?
Yeah, that's all right.
You're back-to-back champions. Defending.
The one girl on the team's hurt. And Asia Wilson is literally the reason they keep winning. So let's just call it like it is.
Kelsey Plum's just a bum now.
Kelsey Plum's solid, very solid woman. Jackie Young's good basketball player.
Bill.
She's no Caitlin Clark. All right. Let's get into the WNBA talk. So we talked about this at length last week. And I ended on, if I was Caitlin Clark, I'd be very happy that I wasn't going to the Olympics. Very happy. I wouldn't want to go to the Olympics. I just played a whole college basketball season. I'm trying to learn a WNBA offense. I'm on the worst team in the league. I'm struggling.
Second worst.
What?
Second worst. Washington Mystics are horrible.
They're both terrible. Washington Mystics just won the other night like 30.
Yeah, their first win of the season.
Hey, listen. I'm on a terrible team. They were the worst team last year. They added Caitlin. Now they're the 2nd worst team. I don't know what the hell we're talking about. But I would want to learn the offense. I would want to not be in the same Olympic class as old man Taurasi. Call it like it is. She's the reason that she's not on the roster. That's okay. That's fine. I just wish old lady Taurasi would stop yelling, "Get off my lawn," and sit her ass down with her 5 gold medals and open the spot for someone else. And by the way, I don't even think it should be Caitlin Clark. I think it should be I'm not going to say the name right. I almost said Mbakwe.
We know who you're talking about. Just keep going.
Arike Ogunbowale. I said it right that time. I said it. But I think it should go to her. But I also don't think it's going to Arike Ogunbowale because she's not part of their clique. The girl's 2nd in scoring in the WNBA. She's averaging 27 points a game. And she's not on the Olympic roster. But hey, listen, Jackie Young's on the roster. It's okay. Listen, keep adding more Vegas players. Keep adding more Phoenix players. Kayla Copper deserves to be on the roster. Brittany Griner's played 1 game in 7 years, and she's on the goddamn roster.
She played 2 now, but yeah, I agree with that.
But and granted, you want the size. I get it. They're not the same position. But the issues I have with the Caitlin Clark saga, at this point, it's a fucking TV show, are the responses from Team USA, the responses from Diana Taurasi. I don't like that. It's really simple just to be like, look, Caitlin's a great player. We think she's the future of the league. She was drafted number 1 overall. But right now we have a very, very veteran team. And back when they picked me up and I was drafted out of college, or Breanna Stewart was drafted out of college, we had nowhere near the talent in the WNBA that we have right now today. The talent we have is at a whole nother level. And Caitlin's getting adjusted to, WNBA basketball, and it's a very physical game. And we hope to see her in 4 years. That could end conversation. Point over. But that's not what they're doing. And do I think she's one of the 12 best players in the world right now? No, not right now. But I said this to Cottrell in the chat, and I'll say it out loud to you guys now. I think this is like talking about, I'm not saying that Breanna Stewart is Wemby or Anthony Davis. I'm not saying this. Just I'm giving you a comparison, right? Who's a better basketball player right now? Anthony Davis or Victor Wembanyama? The answer is Anthony Davis. Who do you think will be better throughout their career? And most people will tell you Victor Wembanyama. And I think that's kind of where we're at, right? She's probably not one of the 12 best players in the world now, but I think everyone knows she will be. And I think where the WNBA and women's Olympic basketball really miss is they're going to miss out on tons of marketing, eyes, and overall exposure that Caitlin would have brought. I think that's a bad business decision. But if you want to sell it, we're going to put the best team out there, and that just is what it is. I'm okay with that. Just don't give me the stuff in the goddamn media. Diana Taurasi, you're a legend. You might be one of the greatest players you are one of the greatest players of all time. You are my favorite player ever to play the game of women's basketball. I think I stuck up for you and talked about you more than anyone. And now you just come off as an old hag that's complaining, and the old guard, and we laid the foundation for Caitlin Clark. You guys were begging for eyes, begging for attention. You got it now. Just kind of where I'm at. Love to hear. Cottrell, go ahead, give me your take and your spin, how it's coddling and blah, blah, blah. I'm ready for it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not even going to really give you a take. I'll just give you facts. The Team USA has never taken someone that hasn't played for them, whether it be the World Cup, for the Olympics, or even a training camp. You talk about players that play right out of college, being Taurasi, being Stewie, being some other players. And the one thing that all those players have in common is that they were either in a training camp, they've played for Team USA in the past, or they played, a couple years before in the World Cup. Now, I'm not saying that this is Caitlin Clark's fault. She was competing for a national championship the past couple years, so she couldn't play 2 years ago. And then this past year, she was competing for a championship as well, so she couldn't be at training camp. So it's no fault of her own. Also, another reason why I think Arike Ogunbowale wasn't on this team, or wasn't named a finalist to this team. She didn't go to training camp. She's really never played for Team USA before, and that just is. It is what it is. I think she deserved to be on this team 100%. I think they could have picked her over a couple players, but hey, that's just where we are right now. As far as Diana Taurasi making the team, I keep going back and forth with it. I think from what she's done so far, I think she has claims to being, at least in the conversation, as the GOAT of women's basketball. And I think she's earned the right to go on her own terms. If she wanted to play for this Olympic team, she's put in her time to do so. She went to the camp as well. She competed with everybody. She's been there. She brings that veteran leadership to that team. So if that's what she wants to do, I think she's earned that right to do so. On the flip side of that, to make kind of a comparison, we saw last year, 2 years ago in the Women's World Cup, where they really wasted a spot on a woman like Megan Rapinoe, who really didn't give them much. So like I hear really both sides of the argument if you want to put somebody else there. Caitlin Clark doesn't play the same position as her, though, so it wouldn't have been even Caitlin taking that spot from her. I really just feel I've been consistent.
Caitlin doesn't play the same position as Diana Taurasi.
Diana Taurasi is a forward. She's not a point guard.
They're both combo guards. Diana Taurasi has been a combo guard her whole career.
Diana Taurasi is not a point guard.
She's a forward now, but she's been a combo guard.
Has never been a point guard.
That's incorrect.
When was Diana Taurasi a point guard for her team?
Got you. listed as a point guard in I'm just reading out what is listed. Listed as a point guard in 2007, 2008, 2009, 2010, 2011, 2012, 2013, 2014, 2015. Nope, didn't play 2015. 2016. Transitioned to a forward in 2017. So just giving you what's listed. I could be wrong. Maybe I watched her bring the ball up.
Okay,
I watched her run an offense.
Okay, fair enough. So I guess if that's what she's listed as, we'll go by that. But regardless, this isn't 2017, so my point still stands. They don't play the same position. But just to move forward there, I think it's good for Caitlin, like Gene said earlier, that she's not playing on this Olympic team. I think it will be good for her to get that bit of a breather and just really not just fine-tune her game, but just take the time off, maybe even play a bit more with her teammates. None of her teammates were selected either. Leah Boston was in the camp, and I think if there was somebody a big that would have made it on the roster, it would have been Leah Boston, because she was another big who's participated and played with Team USA before in the past. So I think that would be the interesting part about it. And the last thing, I'll say about it is, it's great that everyone wants Caitlin to be a part of this, and you want the game to grow, things like that. All that sounds great. You can not like what Diana Taurasi has said about things, or you can not like what Angel Reese has said. You could even not like the treatment that these players have been giving her. All that's fine and dandy. I don't think there's ever been a time in any sport where we've talked about where we've ultimately talked about a certain player being the best or deserving to be on an Olympic roster, when at the moment they're not even winning or number one in the Rookie of the Year race.
Still listed as a guard, by the way. Sorry. Like currently. Just FYI. I'm not going to discredit everything else you said because you said she's a forward and she's a guard. That's okay. I'm going to take a different stance than what you're saying by the arguments against her not playing are complete hypocrisy. And for Diana Taurasi to get asked that question, and if you guys don't know what I'm talking about, she was in her interview. I don't know how she doesn't know this question's coming up. It should be the most easily prepared for question of all time. They asked Diana Taurasi, Caitlin Clark on the Olympic team. She goes, well, there's a lot of girls that have been putting in the work. They've been in camp. We had practice in a camp in April, which she couldn't come to because she was, credit to her, she was in the Final Four. We had camp in December. She was still playing for Iowa. We had world championships. And, a lot of these girls have been playing together for years. Right? And then the follow-up question, which was the easiest follow-up question of all time. Well, Diana, you were drafted out of college to be on the Olympic team in your first year, in your rookie year of college. And her response is, well, I won 4 national championships. Like our 3 national championships. That response is so absurd. I want you to do me a favor. I want you to go Google, anybody at home listening to the show, Google the 2001-2002 UConn Huskies roster, and you let me know that they didn't have the best 3 players in college basketball on one friggin' team in that year. They had Swin Cash, Sue Bird, and Diana Taurasi on UConn. And, we won the national championship. That's great. That's great. I guess Sue Bird can make claims to her national championship because she's obviously a better player than Caitlin Clark was. Swin Cash has to be a better player. What?
Sue Bird is one of the best ever.
And Swin Cash is too, right? She's definitely better than Caitlin Clark, right? She won 3 national championships. She's 100% a better college player.
I just think it's weird that all of us, it's weird, Gene, you keep yelling, but that's fine. It's just weird that all of a sudden championships don't matter. Like that is quite literally the benchmark in every single sport we talk about. And this is the coddling right here. Championships matter in every other sport until it's with UConn and they have a good team around them and they win the championship a few years. And I'm going to say the same thing that I told you yesterday. You talk about all this talent and things like that. Well, let me give you more facts. There was a team at Duke that had the number 1 player, the number 2 player, and the number 3 player in the country, and Zion Williamson, Cam Reddish, and RJ Barrett. And they didn't win it. They didn't win a damn thing. I understand that. But my point is, you still have to go out there and win basketball games. And you talk about like Caitlin and her team wasn't as good as some of these other teams. That's perfectly fine. Well, they were good enough to get to the national championship 2 years in a row. So don't just go out there and just give me these excuses that, you know, because these other women won while they were in college, it doesn't equal to what Caitlin was able to do at Iowa, when the reality of the situation is Caitlin beat a UConn team that had Paige Beckers, who was a Naismith Player of the Year, the only freshman to ever do it in the history of the sport. Caitlin didn't even do that herself. And she also had, you know, 2 other girls who were lottery picks in WNBA in the first round. Caitlin was good enough to beat that team. She was good enough to beat the South Carolina team the year before that had Aaliyah Boston, and they were undefeated up until that point. But then they go out and lose to an LSU team that South Carolina took care of business of in the regular season. They were good enough to do that. When they lose in the championship game, and you're telling me that Iowa wasn't on the same level, or they weren't supposed to win, or they weren't supposed to be there, that's a part of that coddling. Championships matter in every single sport. Let's make them matter here, and not just say we're throwing that out the window because we like a certain player. That's just dumb.
I'm not throwing it out the window, but how deep down the championship roster do you have to go to be like, oh, just to discredit someone that didn't win a championship? It's like, how deep do I have to go? Is Swin Cash a better college basketball player than Caitlin Clark?
No, but that's like saying, is Robert Horry a better basketball player than Charles Barkley?
Correct.
Like,
so how deep do we go?
The same thing. Is Michael Jordan a better basketball player than Charles Barkley?
Yes.
He's got 6. Charles doesn't have any. Like,
yeah, Michael Jordan's a better basketball player with or without rings.
Okay.
You can watch both of them play basketball and see who's a better basketball player.
Okay.
So what's that? What was that point?
My point is, you can be the best player. You win championships. Until you prove it, you have to go win a championship to go be on that next level. Like, who's the best player to never win a championship, whether it be women's or men's NBA?
I'd probably say Charles Barkley.
Okay. And how many
forward of all time?
Okay. And where does he rank at in terms of all-time greats in the sport?
20, 25, right around that age. 15.
All right. And why is that?
Because he was the 15th to 25th best player.
Is it not? And now, if he had won 3 championships,
who ahead of him?
If Charles Barkley has the exact same resume, points, rebounds, it says everything numbers wise is the same, but he has 3 or 4 championships on his resume, is he not at least 5, maybe even 10 spots higher on that all-time list?
Let me ask you a basketball question.
I asked you, you don't answer questions with
questions. No, I don't think he's 10 times higher, because I don't think that the people.
I think 5 or 10 places higher.
I don't. If he won, I don't. If he would have won with the Rockets team that he got on, or he would have won with the Suns or the Sixers, I don't think he'd be 5 to 10 spots higher if he won a championship, because he's not better than the players that were ahead of him. So I'm going to follow it up with a basketball question, right? So you look at the players in the NBA. Jason Tatum could possibly win an NBA championship this year, be the best player on a championship roster, right?
Is
he better than Luka?
That's not what this is, though. We're talking about regular season MVPs too. Like Diana Taurasi, she has National Player of the Year.
Iowa is the exact same thing as Boston versus Dallas. It is the exact same thing. But you have 2 players that went top 10.
Okay, listen to me. No one's going to feel that. That's a great point. No one is going to feel bad for Luka, like, oh, well, you didn't get it done against this Boston team.
No, but we're not going to lie and say Tatum's better.
But you will talk about legacy, and that sort of thing is going to come up when you talk about like Jason Tatum in the future. Winning matters. If Luka never wins a championship, he won't be in that discussion with some of the all-time greats that we think he can be, regardless of the numbers that he puts up.
All right. Well, if Boston wins the finals and they both retire tomorrow, who's higher on your all-time list, Luka or Tatum?
Luka, for sure. He's a 5-time first team All-NBA player.
Okay. I feel like that me and you aren't ever going to see eye to eye on this, and that's okay.
We won't. And I want to answer Godfrey too. You say Leitner didn't win Rookie of the Year vote and got a spot. Well, he came straight out of college, which was different, and he's also came off of a championship. And also, Godfrey, to answer your other point, so LeBron is not better than MJ because MJ won more. That's the argument that everyone likes to say. MJ won more, so that means he's the better player. I'm saying you can't have it both ways. You can't say, like, the people that argue this, not saying that you guys do. I think there's more behind it. You can't just say MJ won more, so he's better than LeBron, but then also say Caitlin Clark is better than Diana, although she didn't win. Like, you can't have that both ways. That's my point, Godfrey.
We've had this conversation though before. You've ranked Wilt Chamberlain over Bill Russell, and you've been on this show saying that Bill Russell is the most overrated player of all time.
For sure.
Okay. How can you say that? He has 11 championships. He was the best player on a championship roster. Championships only matter when they fit the narrative, right?
No. See, again, here you go, twisting things up here. Wilt Chamberlain won MVP awards. Yeah. He was, player of the year. I'm saying that. Correct. I understand that. When they went up against each other, who had better games? Like, also, Wilt Chamberlain won a championship. If Wilt never won anything, guess what? Guess where we'd be having the conversation about Wilt? Like, guess where he'd be? I'm saying Caitlin Clark hasn't won a damn thing yet, and we're having these conversations like she's the greatest thing since sliced bread. I'm just saying that you have players in Diana Taurasi, Breanna Stewart, who, for whatever reason, you love to discredit what she's done in her career. The only player to ever win 3 Naismith Awards and 4 national championships, like, never been done in the history of the women's game.
Okay.
And you're saying that she's not a better player because she was on better teams. I'm just not buying it. I'm not buying it.
No. Statistically, she's not a better player. If you blind resume their stats, that's all I said when we were talking about this conversation yesterday. What I said was statistically blind resume their stats, and you tell me who's a better player. And Caitlin Clark's better than her everything in college. Everything except winning. But winning is a team game. Winning is a team sport. So, like, my question that I keep asking is, how far do we go? Is Chauncey Billups better than James Harden?
See, here you go. Chauncey Billups never won an MVP. Again, team accolades, I get that. What you keep blatantly ignoring is that Breanna Stewart won the best player in college basketball 3 years in a row by herself. That's not a team award.
Do you think
best player in the country by herself alone 3 years in a row? Never been done before.
Do you think the talent that's in the WNBA now is better than it was 10 years ago?
I do. Yes.
Okay. Do you think the talent in college basketball is better now than it was 10 years ago?
I do. Yes.
Okay. So would it
does not discredit winning 3 years in a row? Does not. Just doesn't.
If there's nobody kind of even in her league, in the league, like
there was nobody in Jordan's league in the 90s, and we're still talking about him as he's the greatest player ever. We talk about the 90s like it was the best era of basketball, and it was Gene. Go ahead, say it. Say it was a watered down era. Go ahead, say it.
What? The 90s was watered down.
So why do we? Okay, so if that's the case, if that is the case, why do we regard Jordan as high as we do?
Because we've watched him play.
But that's not answering the question. Why do we regard him as high as we do? We watched him play in what?
Last 6 full years that he played for the Chicago Bulls.
What did he do?
Absolutely dominated the league in everything.
And what did he do?
They got bored to give him the MVP. Of course he won a championship. No one could beat him. No one could beat him. Once he got over the hump, no one could beat him. And his last 6 full years that he played in the NBA, no one could touch him.
Okay, Gene, so I'll ask you this, and this will be like the last thing I'll say on it. If you take Breanna Stewart off of that UConn team, do they still win a championship?
Probably.
No, I don't think so.
Okay. If you take, just comparison's sake, you take Jordan off the Bulls, they win 50+ games and still make the playoffs. Guess what? You still need a guy like Michael Jordan to come in and win a championship for you and take that team over the top. Well, that's what Breanna Stewart was doing while she was at UConn. That's what Diana Taurasi was doing while she was at UConn.
I won't give you the Taurasi thing, and I'm Taurasi's biggest fan because Taurasi could have her off nights and Sue Bird would go nuts. Sue Bird could have her off nights and Swin Cash would go nuts. I am not giving you the Taurasi thing because the 3 best players in college basketball were all on the same team. You want the Breanna Stewart point? That's fine. I love Breanna Stewart. Stewie's a great player. And I've said multiple times, Stewie's hard foul that she gave Caitlin Clark with the hard screen was a perfect welcome to the WNBA moment. It wasn't illegal. It was, you're here. You're going to feel it, and you're a rookie, and come get it. It wasn't dirty. It wasn't illegal, and it's a hard screen. Welcome to the league, kid. I have no problem with that. I've never had a problem with that. I don't like the other stuff. It happened again Sunday or Monday night, happened again Monday night. Caitlin Clark goes around a screen, gets fouled, and she gets mocked on the court for whatever reason because this girl is so good.
Dejanay Carrington has been doing that all season. See, that's also another part of the problem. Like Dejanay Carrington has had so much personality on the court. She's been in drama literally the entire season so far, but nobody cares because it didn't happen in other Fever games. And so you think it's just this isolated incident with Caitlin, and that's just not the case. And that's the reality of where we're at right now with the media covering the WNBA. I get it. Caitlin is great for the WNBA. I think Caitlin is going to be a star. I think she is a future top 10 player all time in the league. But the reality of the situation is the coverage of the WNBA it's grown the game because more eyes watch, but they're watching the Fever play. They're watching when Caitlin is out there on the court.
I do want to ask you one more question and I'm going to end on this and we'll be done and we'll go into our trivia question. Lisa Blunder was the coach of Iowa from 2000 to now. She just quit after Caitlin left. In the 4 years that Caitlin Clark was at Iowa, they were ranked in the AP top 10, 3 of those 4 years. In the other 20 years that Lisa Blunder coached at Iowa, how many times do you think they were a top 10 team?
No clue.
Just take a guess. Wild guess. 3, 5, 7?
2.
None. 0. So there says something about putting Iowa basketball on the map and not going to the powerhouse of UConn. You think if Caitlin Clark would have went to UConn, she wouldn't have national championships? You think if she would have went to South Carolina, she would have won the national championship?
I do.
Okay.
You don't just – but my point is, and this is the point that will stand, you can't be good enough to get to the national championship and then get credit for losing it. That's the same thing we hate on LeBron about when he gets there. That's the same thing we hate on anybody else who gets to championship games and loses them. I say the same thing about guys like Chris Paul, who I feel like loses in big-time games. I'm not saying it's the same thing. Caitlin performed in both those championship games, but you can't just get to that big stage and not win. And I just give you a pass because your team wasn't good enough to win the championship, but it was good enough to beat everybody else in the tournament. I mean, including undefeated teams on the way. You can't beat South Carolina, who was probably the best team in all of basketball the year that LSU won it. You can't beat them. And then, the following year they lose to Leah Boston, and then you not beat them. I just say, hey, maybe Iowa just wasn't good enough. That's not flying in my book.
Okay. The funny thing is this, right? We'll revisit this conversation in 4 years and there will be a clear victor and a clear loser, and it'll be one way or the other. And it'll be very obvious based off what we're talking about now.
Look, I told you guys through text, I'm hoping the Fever end up with their worst record. I hope they get Paige. I think Paige, Caitlin, and Aaliyah Boston will be the trio the WNBA needs. I think that would be a future dynasty, and it'll be fun seeing them go up against all these teams and them crafting teams to try and beat that group of 3 women.
Yeah, they got to fire their head coach too. Christy Side's got to go.
Speaking of getting fired, how are you not in the top 10 for 20 years and you keep your job the entire time?
Women's college basketball.
Because Iowa's women's basketball. Nobody cares. That's why.
Exactly. But let's move on. This is the trivia time. It is exactly 8:00, and I have a fun trivia question. Now, guys, this is not your typical trivia question. I went a little bit more fun this week, right? So we got to figure out a way to knock Shally off his mantle. But however, if I'm looking at the question, knowing what the question is, I'm still favoriting Shally in this contest because it is a question that kind of gears towards Shally. I'm just being honest. So, Cottrell, I'd love for you to be the guy that knocks him off in his hometown. You're playing at Boston. You're Dallas. You're going in there. It's a tough matchup. We're going to go 1 for 1. Here's the question. The top 10 fictional sports villains voted by ranker. And I have a 10. I have a list of 10. It's the top 10 best fictional villains, sports villains ever. And there's 10 of them, and it's voted by ranker. I have a list. And Shally, being the victor that you are, you can choose first or second. And we have 10 villains sitting here for you.
I'm going first on this one.
Okay. You have an easy shot. Pretty easy one to start.
I'll go Shooter to start.
That is number 1. Shooter McGavin is number 1.
I'll fire back with Ivan Drago.
Number 2, Ivan Drago. You guys, these guys, they're pretty well versed. They're pretty well versed.
I'll stay with Rocky and go with Mr. T.
He's not on the list. That's a strike.
I'm gonna go a little outside the box here. I'm gonna go with White Goodman.
White Goodman, number 6. WHITE.
Who's a bad guy in a movie?
I don't think there's, let me just make sure. 0 duplicates. So you don't have to worry about any movie being used more than once.
You're saying there's 0. Oh, okay. So
like there's no 2 villains in one movie. I just want to double check that. These are the best. I agree with almost all of them. The chat might start helping out. We'll see.
I know I'm not up, but I'm really thinking here.
So you got 1, 2, and 6 crossed off the list.
I'm trying to think who plays like a big enough part in a movie that's like a bad guy.
I mean, it's all over the board. It's everything. Everything. I'm not going to give it away. I don't want to give anything away. I just want to. It's all over the board, though. Dead air.
I know. I mean, this isn't an easy one. I mean, it's fun. It's not
like
easy,
on the moment, on the spot. Like it is tough to think for sure.
You got to rip through all the sports movies and like find a bad guy that's a big enough character that people would just be like him. Oh man.
All right, I'm gonna give you 10 more seconds, and we got to forfeit the turn. 4, 3.
I will go with Bud Kilmer.
Bud Kilmer, number 3. That is a great pull at the buzzer. It's funny. He went past the 10 seconds, but he did the old "I will go with." That's a vet move right there. That was a vet move. We're 2-2. Yeah, Cottrell. Bud Kilmer was a good pull. Number 3.
I got a feeling I'm not going to come up with a good one here.
Some of these are so great.
Oh, man.
When you hear them, you'll be like, I get it.
No, for sure. I'm like literally going through like all of the best like sports movies in my head here and trying to think, was there like a villain good enough in there to be on the list?
That's the toughest part. Like I know we literally just did this bracket too, but like most of the people in the bracket were like the main characters, so they're good guys.
Yeah.
Like trying to go back through all those movies and find a bad guy that was like a big enough part of the movie, it's tough.
You guys let me know if you need help. We can try to figure something else out or whatever.
I'm trying to think like
I have 2 more, and I'm not kidding. If they're not on the list, then I'm probably gonna lose.
I really got nothing right now. I might just have to.
We'll give you your first strike. We'll go back to Shally. Give me one of your 2.
I'm gonna go with Judge Smales from Caddyshack.
Judge Smales from Caddyshack is not on the list. It's funny. I feel like the Judge Smales from Caddyshack could be on this list, but I can make an argument for any of the other 10 people on this list. Well, now we have other 6 people on the list.
I'm struggling here. What we got going on here?
That?
Oh, it's just somebody that does this. This happens all the time. People spam. Block user. Goodbye. You are the weakest link.
Gene, I'm gonna go with your boy here. I'm gonna go Teddy KGB.
Teddy KGB is not on the list. That is strike 2. Give me your other one.
Going Johnny Lawrence from Karate Kid.
That is number 4. Johnny Lawrence. And by the way, Johnny Lawrence might even not be the villain. He's really the hero. I'm kidding. That's a joke.
Well, yeah. Oh, yeah. If you watch the show.
Charles got 3 right now.
So Charles got 3, 3-2. We're gonna run this through, and the strike thing shouldn't matter, but we're gonna run this through until you guys run out, and then we'll see what the score is. But right now you got 1 Shooter, 2 Drago, 3 Kilmer, 4 Johnny Lawrence, 6 White Goodman. You're missing 5, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And I think that 2 of them are extremely easy. Like I'm very, very shocked that you guys are struggling with 2 of these. I can get where some of the other ones would be. I'm gonna after this round, I'm gonna give hints, and I'm just gonna because this is another round. I don't 2 people.
Yeah.
I'll give hints.
Let's go with. I just had it in my head. Ernie McCracken.
That is correct. Number 8 is Ernie McCracken.
That was literally my next one.
That is a great one. All right, so next round, it's 3-3. Both of you guys are kind of stuck against the 8 ball, so am I good with giving a little bit of hints? I won't give it away. I'll just give hints. Is that fair?
Okay.
Unless you have one, Chal. We can go another round if you have one. Doesn't seem like you do. That's why I'm trying to get hints out here.
I have a borderline one. I just don't think it's on the list, so we can go hints.
Okay, so 2 of them are kids' movies. 2 of them are funny movies. That's the other 4 you have left. 2 kids' movies, somewhat kids' movies, and 2 funny movies. Comedy movies.
Kids sports movies.
No, the one comedy movie is great, and it's a great movie also. It's not just a pure comedy, but the other one is a pure comedy movie. And then 2 are
pure comedy?
Pure comedy, 100%. And then there's 2 kids movies.
2 kids, bro. The kids movie that I'm thinking about here, I'm like, who's the villain? Like, who's the villain that gets there?
You'll know, but now I'm not saying both of the kids' movies' villains are kids.
Okay.
One of them might be, but the other one.
That just gave it away.
Okay.
Well, not the answer, but I'm just saying, like, that lets you know that one of them's not a kid.
Yeah. Okay, that's fair. I'm trying to help. Shalley's getting the hints right now. I got it, Shall. I need an answer.
Oh, Tom.
I'm gonna go.
Dan. Come on, chat. Where's the chat? I got one. I got my next one. My next one is queued.
I know. You have it. I know you've seen it.
I'll go Rachel Phelps from Major League.
God damn it.
That is correct. Rachel Phelps from Major League is number 9.
You're so Ernie. That's what you get.
It's funny because you said, God damn it, Tom, and looked at the chat and I knew exactly when he wrote that. I just didn't.
Yeah.
Yep.
No,
all right. For Shally.
I don't see all the chats that you guys see. So
Control, you're up.
Now I gotta pull something out of my ass. Chat. What kicking and screaming? Mighty Ducks. Who would it be from the Mighty Ducks?
It's funny because the Mighty Ducks was the first movie that, when you said kids movie, that like popped in my head.
See, the one I immediately thought about was different. So
we're 11 minutes in, guys. We got to start moving.
Rachel Phelps was the next one, man.
Rachel Phelps is it. It's 4-3 Shally right now. There's 3 left. Cottrell, you're up against the eater. We'll give you 20 seconds, and then we got to wrap it up.
All right.
You get a full 20 seconds.
What is this? All right, let me think. I'm thinking here. Got my thinking cap on. See, you said earlier that there's not a duplicate here. There's no duplicates.
Yeah, like so there wouldn't be 2 from like the Rocky saga.
Yeah.
Like there could be 5 Rocky movies, but there's not 2 from the Rocky saga, is what I mean.
Right.
So there's not 2 from Major League, if that's what you're thinking.
Well, I was kind of thinking Apollo, but that would be off the table.
All right, I need an answer from you, brother. We got to wrap it up.
I don't have one. I don't have
Allie,
one.
do you have one to close it out?
It's not the Iceland coach, is it?
It is. It's the dentist. Iceland's coach, the dentist. He's number 5. Shally has won this week again. I'm going to read it out. It's Shooter McGavin, number 1. Ivan Drago, number 2. Bud Kilmer, number 3. And Johnny Lawrence, number 4. The dentist. And the Iceland coach, number 5. White Goodman, White. Number 7. Spike don't care. Spike don't play with girls. Spike from Little Giants. Wow. Number 8's Ernie McCracken. Number 9 is the Indians owner, Rachel Phelps. And number 10 is Henry Gerard from Talladega Nights.
God damn. I was honestly thinking about that, but I didn't think that he would be big enough to like be on this list.
I was hoping my boy Parkman was going to make the list.
Parkman was a notable admission. Listen, I'll tell you right now, in Ranker, Parkman's up there. Like
that's what I was going back and forth between Major League, because when you're like, there's no duplicates, I was like, I don't know who would make it more, Parkman or the owner.
No, the owner is definitely the biggest villain in that movie. Now that you heard the whole list, do you disagree with it? I think it's a very good list.
No, it is for sure. When you said kids movies, I don't know why my mind immediately went like Sandlot.
Okay.
So I was like,
yeah, I went there too.
I'm like, who the hell in there would have been the villain, you know? And I was just like really just trying to go through some of like the like all-time great movies, like one I thought about too was Caddyshack, but I couldn't remember the guy's name from Caddyshack.
I said him, Judge Smales.
Yeah. I thought Spike was a great answer. I think Spike's a perfect villain in the Little Giants.
Gene Gerard's a great one.
Yeah. All right, let's move on. We got some MLB talk. We're going to talk some trade deadline stuff. Shally, I want to pass the rock over to you so you can kind of lead the direction that we had. But we do want to mention a trade that happened earlier today in which the Los Angeles Dodgers have acquired Kevin Biggio from the Toronto Blue Jays. Is this the beginning of Toronto blowing it up?
See, it was funny. Like it was that was one of my questions anyway. So I mean, it's a good lead in. He literally just got designated for assignment. So I mean, I think Toronto. If we're just being honest, he hasn't panned out like Bichette and Vladdy Jr. have. But that being said, I mean, it's kind of the first domino to fall. Toronto's hanging in. I think the problem they have to look at realistically is now. I think everybody thought, and including us on the show, that New York was not going to be where they are right now without Cole, and we didn't think that pitching staff was going to do what they were going to do. New York has proven that they're just going to be an elite team this year. Baltimore is right up their butts. We knew this is what Baltimore is going to be. You have zero shot of winning that division. With Cleveland actually looking good in the Central. The wild card, I think, is getting a little bit harder and harder with the way Toronto's playing, and they have big decisions to make. So, I think when push comes to shove, they're going to keep Vladdy Jr. I think you might see Bichette, get traded if anybody.
Send Bichette to Cleveland, damn it. We need a shortstop.
A lot of rumors of Frankie's going back to Cleveland.
I'd be okay with that too if the Mets paid like 70% of that salary.
But no, I mean, it was good to see. I think it's going to be a busy deadline this year. I do. We're less than 2 months away. We've got a lot of games between now and then before a lot of teams decide if they're going to be buyers, sellers, so forth and so on. But my one of my other questions was, who do you think your surprise team would be to be sellers based upon where we are right now?
Surprise seller.
The Houston Astros.
No.
That's my answer as well.
Really?
I think I would be surprised if they, I think it would be a surprise because depending on where they're at the deadline, I don't think they just go out and just completely blow it up. But at the same time, I think it may be a wake-up call for them, like, hey, maybe we do need to build this team back up because as we're constructed right now, we're not built to win. So that's why I think they would potentially be that.
By the way, Alex Elmore from Up and In. By the way, if you haven't checked out Up and In, great baseball show. We're going to give you a snippet of what MLB action is. Tune in Sunday night. You'll get the whole meal. Like, we're an appetizer, right? We're like mozzarella sticks. They got the chicken parm over pasta Sunday night. So tune in to Up and In. He said they aren't selling.
Listen, I mean, nobody's going to come out at the beginning of June and say they're selling, but
right. You start sucking until.
Yeah, I mean they're gonna play 30 games between now and then we'll see where everybody is. But they have a lot of interesting decisions to make. They just put 2 more pitchers on the season-ending IL. Framber pitches tonight. We'll see how he does. Verlander's starting to look a little bit better. But Alex Bregman comes up next year. They're going to have to re-sign Jordan. I mean, he's the guaranteed one they're not going to let go. Kyle Tucker has a year and a half left on his contract. A lot of speculation. A lot of people are making calls on him. People think he's getting traded. They have to spend a lot of money in the next couple of years. So I think it's unrealistic to think that team is going to look exactly the same in 2 years. So again, if somebody calls you and knocks you out with an offer for Kyle Tucker, maybe you have to take it. Maybe somebody calls you and knocks you out with an offer to rent Bregman for the rest of the year. Maybe you have to take it. I think Houston's in a very, I don't want to say difficult, but they're in a very interesting position. Seattle's starting to kind of play like we thought Seattle was going to all of a sudden.
Let me give mine just before you give it. I think a surprise seller at the deadline will be last year's National League representative. I think the Arizona Diamondbacks will be sellers this year. I think they're going to sell off a lot of the contracts that they have on their roster, especially their younger contracts that they got for 1 or 2 years to try to take another shot at the World Series. I think you'll see Arizona being sellers. They're 4th in that division now, although they're only a few games behind the wild card. I think they'll dip even further. I think all 3 teams ahead of them, San Francisco, San Diego, and Los Angeles, have more depth and better baseball teams.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. I would have to look at other contracts and see who they have a value that, they would definitely even consider letting go. I mean, some of those guys, are just going to be untouchable.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, because I do agree with you. I think they're out of it, but because I think it's starting to look more and more likely maybe if you get 2 teams in out of the Central. The Dodgers and the Phillies.
That's
I mean,
so wild.
Yeah.
I think Jordan Montgomery would be the obvious name that gets moved. He got signed to a very, very small contract to them in this offseason. I think Montgomery would be the person that ends up getting moved.
Never have enough left in the pitching.
Yeah, right. But they don't have them long term.
Send them to Texas.
You could see him go back to Texas. I mean, you could see
how the Astros did with Verlander. Let him go and then just trade it for him right back.
What a monster move that was for them. Even though Verlander hasn't panned out for them, it's just, I don't know, man. You let him go. Good. Go get your money in New York and then pay us. We'll pay 70% on the way back. New York's eating 30% of that salary on the trade back.
Yeah. He couldn't get out of New York fast enough.
I know.
I mean, Montgomery would be an interesting name. I mean, I think that'd be a name.
Gurriel would be another one.
See, that's interesting. Yeah, I mean, I would have to see what his contract is, but I think Montgomery would be a very logical choice for. We talked about this before. Not the huge splash move, but it would make sense for Atlanta.
Yep.
Their pitching is struggling. I mean, they're on a 5-game losing streak now. They're losing right now again to Baltimore. They're not scoring. They're not hitting. They are. They're in. I think they're in a little bit more of a treacherous territory than people would like to admit. Can Pittsburgh win the Central?
I mean, can they? Yeah, sure they can. I don't think they will. I think that division, and I said this before, I think Cincinnati makes a run at that division. Milwaukee is in a 7-game lead in that division. It's a huge lead. But I think if a team makes a run at Milwaukee, I think it's Cincinnati, not Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with it being Cincinnati making the run. I also don't think the Cubs are going to just – I think the Cubs can and will put up a fight for second place in that division as well. So I don't think the Pirates will. Can they? Yes, but I don't think it's very likely.
I think there's a chance Pittsburgh gets a wild card spot. I think so. I mean, I don't know who it is. I still right now I don't think Milwaukee wins that division. I think either Pittsburgh makes a run or Cincinnati does, and St. Louis is actually starting to play well too. I think one of those 3 teams wins that division. I don't think it's Milwaukee. Major League Baseball would love to have Paul Skeens in the playoffs. They have a nice little squad right now. People are starting to show up. Obviously, you have Skeens, you have Jones, and Keller. They have a really good top 3. Wouldn't necessarily be a team you'd want to see, playing in the wild card round if they get in. They hit a little bit. I think you can say the same thing for Cincinnati. I think Cincinnati's lineup's a little bit better, but I think Pittsburgh's pitching is way better.
I think Cincinnati has some, like, now that Nick Lodolo is fully back for Cincinnati, I think that their rotation's a lot better. Not better than Pittsburgh, but I mean, it's a lot better than people give it credit for. Hunter Green has pitched decently well for them. Andrew Abbott's pitched well for them. And now Nick Lodolo is back. You have a 1-2-3, in my opinion, that can compete.
Yeah, I mean, I agree.
It's just not pitched well. So
I agree with that. I mean, Hunter's definitely not been he hasn't been bad by any means, but I think there was a point for Cincinnati where obviously they're not rushing their window, but I feel like they thought that Hunter Green was going to be at some point, and it's not saying it's impossible. Like, the kid's still young, but I feel like they were expecting him to take over as the ace of that staff, and that hasn't happened yet, where he's taken control of that spot. So I mean, I think as far as pitching goes, I don't think they are quite on that same level yet. I don't think their staff's better, especially now that Pittsburgh's brought up Paul and Paul's been pitching his ass off. Also, side note, super funny that he strikes out Ohtani, the first at bat. Ohtani goes yard on him. Only thing he does was laugh. I was like, all right, I can get behind this kid. He's still got some human element to him. I can get behind this kid.
He's a cool kid. He's gonna be an absolute just
to strike out for 9 is incredible. Yeah, it's up there with Aroldis Chapman, who's their closer.
Yeah, he's different. If he can stay healthy, he's one of those. You just look at him. He's gonna be one of those generational kids. He just is.
Oh, please! I promise you, we'll get to this tonight. I have this at the end of the show, if you know what I'm saying.
I had one more. I can't remember what it is though. Oh, which team do you think ends up getting the most all-star starters in the NL?
The Phillies. I think the Phillies will be a little bit more than the Braves because you're probably going to get Bohm, you're going to get Harper, you're going to get their starting pitcher, and I think JT getting hurt. Maybe it is Los Angeles, but I think the Phillies have 3 starters, which is huge to have the most starters. 3 is a big number. I think the Phillies have 3 right now.
I think they have 4 guaranteed.
You think the Phillies have 4 guaranteed?
I don't know. I don't know how you would leave Ranger or Zach Wheeler off the team.
Well, no. You said starters.
All right. Well, okay. 3. Yeah. I mean, if you get Dodgers, you're gonna have 2.
Well, then I will bring up the team polls because I really wanted to kind of get into that. Did you guys see the MLB team polls where they polled all the players? 100 more. We interviewed more than 100 players, almost evenly split between American and National League across 18 teams to grant them anonymity to get their unfiltered takes on the biggest and most controversial storylines in baseball. Did you guys see this?
I did not.
I'm not. It's probably going to lead to my last question, though. But go ahead.
Well, it said, who's the best player in baseball? 46%. I showed Shohei Ohtani was 46%. And the second best player in baseball, they listed as Ronald Acuna Jr. at 26.5%. Also receiving votes were Mookie Betts, Aaron Judge, and Mike Trout at 3.9%. In their own words, there's no comparison. Everyone has a comp. He's got no comp. Shohei Ruth or Babe Ohtani, no question. That was a player that said that. On Acuna, it's tough not to go with Ohtani, but Acuna is pretty close. I saw BP the other day. I was impressed and playing against him for the past 5 years, but it's tough with Ohtani. You've got two guys in one. I think Acuna is the best player right now. Who's the most overrated player in baseball? Anyone take a shot? Who they went with? They went with good old Jazz Chisholm. You know, the funnier part of that question is, do you know who got second? And I don't even understand, like, who's rating this player? Anthony Rendon got second. He's terrible. Who's overrating him? He's awful.
I think probably just because of the money that he got. That's probably why he's even on players' radar.
We talked about it earlier this year, like when we were talking about the lineups, and like it's okay. Like, yeah, you go Judge and you have Soto, and then people are like, oh, well, like then Anthony Rendon. I'm like, he hits 210. I'm not worried about pitching to Anthony Rendon. Like, I've made this point before. Like people are like, oh, like he plays first base for the Yankees. Like he must be great. No, he's not. He's overpaid and he is overrated. Like it's crazy.
You're thinking Anthony Rendon's on the Angels. You're thinking
it's on Rizzo. Same thing though.
Yeah. The other players that got votes. Now, Jazz Chisholm was runaway. Anthony Rendon was second by a good portion. The other players that got votes: Carlos Correa, Tim Anderson, Jack Flaherty, Pete Alonso, Cody Bellinger, Alex Bregman, Ellie De La Cruz, Manny Machado, and Blake Snell.
Haters on this list.
That's what some of that is. I hate to say, because I mean, some of those guys I just don't know.
Tim Anderson Jr. is an interesting one because he literally fell off of a cliff out of nowhere.
Putting aside their stats and going solely on vibes, who do you want most on your team?
Just off their vibes?
That's exactly what the question was. I think it's a really interesting answer.
I feel like Bryce has to be on that list somewhere.
Bryce is on the list. He's tied for third. Number one is more than double number two.
Somebody with good vibes.
Yep.
I'll
go Judge.
Ellie?
It's Mookie Betts. Mookie, the 1, Shohei 2, Acuna, Harper, Judge, and Schwarber 3. Trout, Lance Lynn, Marcus Semien, Willie Adames 4, and then there's a who's who at 5.
I don't know. Shohei's on there like vibes, like he doesn't.
Bro, they don't right. He doesn't even speak English to everybody. They're like, oh yeah, Shohei just probably laughs at our jokes, has no clue what the hell we're saying. Good vibes.
Okay, which team would you sign with if state taxes and rosters were not a factor?
Oh Christ. The Dodgers are probably high because of the weather.
The Yankees are probably high because of the ballpark.
I'll give you a hint. Number 1 has everything to do with the organization.
Who treats their players right?
Number 1 has everything to do with their organization.
Boston.
It's the Atlanta Braves. Boston second. Los Angeles, Texas are third. The Yankees, Cubs, Padres are 4th, 5th, and 6th. then the Phillies, Diamondbacks, Angels, Astros, and so on.
Who the hell would want to play for the Angels?
I don't know. Which organization has the worst reputation amongst players? Now, before you guys go, this is hilarious. 4 teams got 90% of the vote. So 90 votes out of 100 went to 4 teams total. 40 votes went to 1 team.
Absolutely has to be the Athletics.
The Athletics are number 1. 40 votes.
Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh's they only got 5 votes.
Tampa Bay.
Nope.
Colorado
got 10 votes. They were one of the top 4.
Who else wouldn't I want to play for?
I know. I'm trying to think. White Sox?
White Sox are number 2 at 19 votes.
Marlins is a good one, Alex.
Marlins just got 4. Number 3 was the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim.
Doesn't surprise me.
Makes sense.
Is there any more good ones here? Have analytics hurt your career? No, I don't care about that. Have you ever seen there's just controversial questions. Was the Dodgers offseason spending good for the game?
No.
92% of baseball players answered yes.
Yeah, because they're the ones that are going to get the money. Because everybody's going to do it now.
Are you in favor or opposed to MLB adopting a salary cap? 72% of the league.
Hell no.
Opposed.
Hell yeah, they are. They want their money.
Great article on The Athletic if you have time to read it. Just check it
out. I'll check it out when we get off.
But let's get into the U.S. Open.
Last question.
My apologies. You said you had one more and then you gave it.
I know. I just scrolled down only because this one's starting to pick up steam. It's been 3 or 4 teams now reportedly have gone to look and watch Trevor Bauer pitch. Does somebody, I don't want to say get desperate enough, but somebody have the balls enough to pull the trigger and sign him for the stretch run?
I sure hope so.
I say yes. I think he's been dominating the league that he's in, and I do think at a point, I think someone's going to make a phone call, try to get a starting pitcher. Whoever they want either goes to another team or they just strike out on the guy, and they're like, you know what? There's this guy sitting on the pine over here. He can come in and at worst come be our number 3 guy. So I think yes.
What's your inside info, Alex? We all want it.
If it's Trevor Bauer going to the Giants,
Houston is the most recent team to go look at him and kind of like not try to hide it. So a lot of people think the Astros might sign him. I mean, they need pitching. I mean, they're falling like flies in Houston. So
Trevor Bauer would fit with that organization like a glove.
True. I mean, honestly, they've weathered worse. So,
if we're being completely honest, Trevor Bauer was one of the most outspoken players against the cheating. He was the one that cursed out a lot of those players. So, I don't know how it fit.
That's also, that is true. That is true. I just more so meant because
he would throw it out Tuve. I remember that he said, "I'll throw at him."
Well, he was the one that was really outspoken about Correa saying, "Cost what's his face an MVP."
Yep.
I was just saying that because they know how to cover up some controversy. So
apparently, Bauer posted a picture buying an Astros hat. I mean, we'll see. That'd be nice if that happens. I want to see Bauer back in baseball. I think he's fun for the game. He's
really like live streaming his Starks in Mexico.
I know it's so funny.
It's hilarious.
And he's like talking about how he's going to get people out. It's so funny.
He's like, gotta go cutter here. It's so good.
This guy can't lay off a slider.
Yeah,
a slider in the dirt.
Toosh, toosh, toosh.
It's funny. All right, let's get into U.S. Open, man. I'm pretty excited about that.
I mean, if you've paid attention, if you're a golf fan, you've paid attention at all this week. I mean, you have a pretty good idea of what might occur this weekend. There is no rain in the forecast. The course is already at a very, let's say, difficult condition.
They better get the hoses out, man, and water down those greens.
They were watering all the greens today. I saw a bunch of videos about it, like middle afternoon. They groundskeepers out on all the greens, but we'll get into all that in a second. So If you don't know, U.S. Open is this week. They are playing at Pinehurst number 2, which is pretty much considered Donald Ross's best design ever. Down in Pinehurst, North Carolina. Going to be a par 70, play around 75, 7,600 yards, depending where they put the tees. Not super long. Courses, like I already said, these guys will get a lot of rolls. So it's really not even going to play that long. But the treacherous part of this course is obviously the greens, green complexes, all the bunkers around it, and then just the undulations and the slopes of all the runoff. So renovated by Ben Crenshaw about 5 years ago. They actually found Donald Ross's original plans for the course, which was awesome. And they removed about 40 acres of sod from this course in the last couple of years. And what they've done with it is they took it all up. So you'll see it if you're going to watch. Pretty much what you have now is you have fairways. And if you run out of the fairway, you're not going to go into rough anymore. You're going to go in the fescue, which is about 2 to 3 feet high across the course, or you're going to go into waste areas where it's, clumps of grass, sand. There is no rough on this course now. It is going to play incredibly hard this weekend. The biggest thing, the iconic part of the course is, which Gene just brought up, they're called turtleback greens. Pretty much middle at some point of every green, there's a high point where it's kind of flat in the middle, but then everything else on the green runs away from it. So if you cannot put your ball and get it to stop in that area, it's going to roll off the green. You've seen all the crazy videos on Twitter. Guys are literally just dropping a ball in the middle of the green, and it rolls really slow, picks up speed, and then rolls 40 yards off the green. You're going to see it all weekend. It's going to be great. People are already calling it carnage. It's going to happen. So held two opens there previously, 1999, which is the iconic one with Payne Stewart. If you've probably seen it in the rain, drains the 18-footer on 18 to beat Phil Mickelson on Father's Day. It's iconic, for tragic reasons because he died a couple weeks later in a plane crash. And then they had it 5 years later. Michael Campbell beat Retief and Tiger by 2 for his only PGA Tour win ever. Iconic course, gorgeous. Everybody's going to be there. Rahm pulled out today because of that infection he has on his foot. Other than that, everybody's there. It's going to be viewing for sure. Tiger has already come out and said that they're going to have there's going to be some green ping pong, which is what he calls it when you just chip the ball on the green and it rolls off the other side and then you do it again. These guys are going to get tested. It's going to be hot. It's going to be dry. You'll probably see some people freak out. I would absolutely 100% probably watch Tyrell Hatton this weekend. He's going to be good for at least probably 5 or 6 F-bombs on live mics, which will be fun. It's going to be good. It's going to be really good. I'm really excited.
Well, I have 2 picks for this tournament, and I listen. I told you I'm not gambling, but this is kind of gambling. I'm just throwing $25 on 2 golfers, and that's all I'm doing. I'm not going nuts, guys. I know I've told you I haven't been gambling in a while, but I'm definitely throwing $25 on 2 golfers this weekend. I have 2 picks only this week because I refuse to bet Scotty Scheffler plus 280, even though he's the best golfer in the world. It's just absolutely absurd, insanity and absurd to course this hard and get a plus 280. Like, that is so ridiculous. So I do have 2 picks, and I'll give you both. I'm going back to the old Masters pick for me. Listen, guy made me a couple dollars. Hideki Matsuyama. I'm picking Matsuyama at 40-1 as my long shot. And you're going to love this one, Bill. I'm going back to a guy that we've had a lot of controversial conversations about.
No.
20-1. Give me the meathead, Bryson DeChambeau. He's been incredible recently, and he made a nice run at the Masters. I really like the way Bryson's striking the ball, and I think this would be a good tournament for him. I think there's a par 5. He might be able to get near the green the way some of these fairways are running. I'm not saying he's going to get on the green on a par 5. That's absolutely absurd, but I think Bryson's club strength can help him skew off a couple shots this weekend.
He has a better short game than people realize. He's a better putter than people realize because he gets all the attention, obviously, for hitting the ball a mile off the tee. If he can be patient and limit when he tries to go for like berserk shots and not kind of avoid the big number, I think he has a shot to be there at the end. I don't hate the pick at all.
So I got 3 this week. Normally, I'm the guy who normally just gives you the one.
You're usually one and out.
Yeah, they usually fall in the they either fall somewhere within the top 10 or they just don't make the cut completely. This week I got 3 though. And I'm gonna save my craziest one for last. Ultimately, my favorite to win it, I like Colin Morikawa to come out and win. I think, just based on how the course is designed, obviously you need to. I think chipping is going to be the most important part of the entire tournament, just based on how the greens are. And I think Colin's going to be able to do that. And I think his putter he's going to put it to work. He's going to make a lot of long putts here. I think he's going to take care of business and take care of the tournament. My first long shot, I like Cameron Smith. I think Cameron Smith is a guy who low-key plays a lot of poise. I think he plays well, like under pressure on some of the harder courses as well. And I think he will be in the mix towards the end there at plus 4,000. And then the last one I got, I'm a fan of the Hollywood story. I'm a fan of the feel-good stories. I know I'm usually the guy that's cold and doesn't have a heart, but you give me a guy at plus 50,000, and this is his home course. Give me Webb Simpson. This is his backyard. Guy grew up in North Carolina. He's played on this course before. He had to actually qualify. He had to go to like a regional qualifier to even play in this tournament. This is all that he's been talking about. I like Webb Simpson at those odds. You throw $10 on it, and it's going to win you $5,000. So I like just sprinkling some money on Webb Simpson, the feel good story, to see if this is something that ESPN can one day make a little short, hour documentary or some E60, something like that, about Webb Simpson just coming out of nowhere, winning in his hometown and winning ultimately on Father's Day, the same course where his dad used to take him when he was a little kid.
Just FYI for you gamblers at home, that is absolutely absurd to have a $10 bet to win $5,000. So I think I might put $10 on him also.
16 in the morning. He's gonna have $300 on the U.S. Open.
No, $60. That's all I got. I'm putting the $10 on there right now. I'm not kidding. $10 to win $5,000 is his home course. I feel like it's, if that happens, it would be the greatest call in the history of the show.
He'll never be anything better. He'll have 3 holes. He'll have make miss cuts in. It'll be $300 in. All right, so that's what I'm going to go with here. My longest shot. Listen, this is what's going to dictate who wins well this week. You got to be accurate off the tee. Like I said, you're better off being 280 in the middle of the fairway than you are 310 in the rough somewhere. All 3 of the guys I'm about to name you are guys that drive the ball extremely well. They're good ball strikers, which is going to lead to hopefully hitting a lot of greens and not falling off. All 3 of them. Well, I don't say one of them. 2 of them. Ultimately, the guy I'm picking too. If he can get hot with the putter, I think he can contend. So, my first long shot, close to Cottrell's heart, I'm going to go with Corey Connors plus 9,000. I think he's way too good of a ball striker. He's pretty much top 10 in every ball striking category. He hits fairways a ton off the tee. His struggle always is putter. If the putter gets hot, I think he's got a shot to contend. My other one, guy that Cottrell already named, Cam Smith at plus 4,000. Wedge game is incredible. Great putter. He just needs to get off the tee. If he can, when he usually does, he's already a 2-time major winner. I think he's absolutely got a shot to win this tournament. But my overall winner, I'm going to go with a different continuation of a storyline. Cottrell kind of went with the Xander Schauffele one of coming up short the week before the major and then winning the following week, picking Morikawa. I'm going to go with the Xander one, but in a different way. I think we get another guy who wins his first major this weekend. Guy who hits almost every fairway off the tee. Great wedge player, pretty good putter. I think it's time that he wins one. I'm going with Fairway Jesus. I'm going Tommy Fleetwood plus 3,300 to win the U.S. Open.
Love it. Let's get into You Got to Be Kidding Me.
All right. So this week for me, I am going with Major League Eating and Nathan's Hot Dogs for what they've done to Joey Chestnut. So for those of you that don't know, Joey Chestnut is a 16-time world, like national champion in the hot dog eating contest that happens every 4th of July. And Joey Chestnut has signed a deal with an impossible food brands that basically sells vegan hot dogs. And because he has that endorsement, Major League Eating and Nathan's decided that Joey Chestnut could no longer compete in the games, and they've banned him from competition in this year's contest. It is absolutely insane to ban your the draw. Like, I don't even know if I'm going to watch it this year.
No, he is the draw.
He is literally your draw. Like, you had Kobayashi before, and then Joey Chestnut comes in and takes over, and he wins 16 championships. He's earned every single thing that he has coming his way. That's the reason why people watch. That's the reason why, people tune in. They want to see him win. They want to see him win a championship and set these crazy records and just dominate the competition and win. So this week for me, you're Nathan's Hot Dogs and Major League Eating not allowing a 16-time winner to not compete in this year's tournament. And Joey Chestnut, this week for me, you get the
kidding me.
I don't know, bro. A lot of things that sound really familiar. Just wondering.
The crazier part of it is they know he's the draw. He gets 30 grand just to show up. Like, they know people tune in to watch him win. He agreed to not wear anything advertising the company. Like, dude,
Did you hear about the what they signed this morning?
Netflix deal?
Chestnut versus Kobayashi.
Yeah. Netflix deal. It's then they named it, bro. Shout out to Netflix. They labeled the thing unfinished beef. That is beautiful. I mean, awesome. You can't get better than that. Great awesome. Job, Netflix. Great job.
Good. All right. I've been agreeing with Cottrell a lot tonight, but I got to go after one of his own for mine this week. If you haven't seen this clip, Cleveland Browns are holding a charity softball tournament game this past week. They had won I think the guy works for the Browns. He got his 90-year-old grandmother to participate in this game. She hits the ball. He has to literally escort her all the way down the first base line so she doesn't fall over, break a hip, or God forbid something else happens.
Bill, we got the clip.
All right, well, play it. Play it. Scumbag move of the century. Whoever the pitcher is fields the ground ball and he's like, I'm not tagging grandma out. I'm not being the bad guy. The closer she gets, once the first baseman guy, the fifth string running back from Cleveland, I can't wait till he gets cut. John Kelly.
Yeah.
Nerd. Anyway, once he gets the ball, you see her start getting close. Everybody starts cheering, and then it becomes really evident what he's going to do. And then he tags the base. 90 feet to a 90-year-old woman, that's like 10 miles. That's like half a marathon for her. Brutal tag, and then celebrate it. And then you showboat in her face. She doesn't even know what's going on. It's crazy.
Though, before you, I think that
I dare say it was racist as well. What?
I think that you have this wrong. I think the original guy was trying to pick up the ball and dropped it. He tried picking up the ball to tag her. Replay the video one more time. I want you to watch.
That's Amari Cooper fielding it too.
Amari Cooper wasn't killing Bambi. Amari Cooper knew what was coming. He wasn't doing it.
I think Amari Cooper was trying to pick up that ball and tag her and didn't realize the ball wasn't in his glove. And then when he realized it, they went and threw it over to first base to get her out.
You got, dude, it's like when you're playing co-ed, bro, and somebody tries to throw a girl out from the outfield, you just don't step on the base. Can't make that play. Can't make it. So for me this week, John Kelly Jr., I can't wait till you're unemployed in the NFL.
Kidding me.
I love it. So mine, very simple. I mean, I didn't know what to get in. I didn't have one this week. And then just yesterday, Micah Parsons made one of his tremendously awful takes and bad claims. Originally, he said that if he could get 200 hits in an MLB season if he got 5 at-bats a game. Parsons quickly lowered the bar, saying he could hit 200 at a Major League Baseball level. But that was still too far too lofty for Tyler Glasnow, who said he might get 5 hits in an entire and out of all if he had 5 at-bats a game for an entire Major League season. I just saying what it is. Micah Parsons says a lot of really dumb things that have no basis for what he says. I'm not going to say I'm glad he's not an Eagle because he's a great football player, but man, that guy loves sticking his foot in his mouth. There's a reason they say one of the hardest things to do is hit a baseball. And to be a Major League Baseball player, there's plenty Major League Baseball players that don't bat 200. Kyle Schwarber's went season after season batting right around 200. So for Micah Parsons to think that he can hit at a level, at Major League level, and get 200 hits in a season and then lower it to I could bat 200, that is just absolutely awful. And for this week, Micah Parsons.
Kidding me.
Micah Parsons is an idiot. It feels like everything that comes out of his mouth is just some sort of over exaggeration of the truth. Like him saying, I forgot what the number was when he said he could score like an NBA game, but he was out of his mind there too. And granted, I think between 5 and him batting 5 hits over 162 games, getting 5 at bats a game, and him batting 200, I do think those things are like on the opposite ends of the spectrum, because Michael Parsons is a great athlete. Like, he's fast. I think he can get a ball. He could bunt probably and get 10 hits. But
no.
Mookie Betts said if Micah Parsons had 500 at bats, he'd still be batting 0.
Like a 200 hits thing, to put it in perspective, like usually like the league leader in hits usually gets around 200 hits a year.
Yeah, that's nuts.
Yeah. So now he's just going to step into Major League Baseball and hit like 330. Okay. All right.
I'm just saying, I think Micah probably bats like 23.
I would love. You think he bats what?
23. 0.23.
Yeah, like
out of 500 at bats, how many hits do you think Michael Parsons gets?
Like actual, like, so we're going live game situation, like hits.
Yeah, live games,
not just like putting the ball in play, like actual hits.
Yeah, actual hits.
There's a chance he gets 0.
I think there's a chance he gets 0. What would be your prediction?
2 or 3.
I think he would be able to bunt single, maybe a couple. I think
that's what I'm saying. That's why I said. That's why I say.
I don't think. The reason I don't say that is nobody's going to be like, nobody on the corners is going to be worried about him like smashing a ball down their throat. They can take that away so easily.
You're right. I'd say 6.
That's true. That's true,
under.
Bill. But at the same time, like, he could do a little pop up and it just falls right behind him, and he is fast enough to beat a throw out from somebody that's flying to a ball that's behind him.
I'll go with 6. 6 out of 5.
I think there's guys in the Major League Baseball that are just as fast as him, and you're giving him way too much credit.
No, I mean, for sure, there's
6
definitely
out of
guys.
500 is not too much credit. Come on.
I said 12.
Shelly, I think if you had 5 bats in Major League Baseball, you can get 6 hits.
Yeah, I played baseball my whole life.
I know.
He hasn't.
But he's a professional athlete.
That doesn't matter. Michael Jordan is one of the best athletes ever and played baseball his whole career, and he sucked at Double-A. Now Micah Parsons going to major leagues and he's getting 12 hits. Stop
Who's
it.
pitching? Who's pitching?
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
No.
Like,
Who's
what do you think?
Against?
Like, let's put it this way: you put him in the box against Paul Skeens right now. What do you think happens?
Hey,
it's going to be embarrassing. He's going to have to hide.
Just asked.
He's going to have to hide when he's done. It's going to be embarrassing.
All right. Well,
worst pitcher in the league, Micah Parsons, 500 at bats.
I'll say 2 or 3. Bro, I don't think you realize how much ball moves. How real time.
Do.
Like he's never played baseball before. He's not just going to get. He's just not going to get in the box and be like, "Oh, I have great reflexes. I'm going to hit a baseball." That's not how it works.
I'm just saying. I think he can get lucky. Of those 12 hits that I say he gets, I think he gets lucky 7 of them.
All right. Well, before we wrap up, does anybody have any final thoughts?
Cottrell's crazy. That's my final thought.
That puts him right at about like 23.023.025 range. Like I think that's where he'd be.
The reason I say it's definitely not 12 is like if you let's just say you put him in a major league lineup and you actually like went through the normal schedule. Like every time he faces like a Zach Wheeler, a Glasnow, a Skeens, those games automatically
zeros.
He's 0 for 5. 0 for 4, 0 for 5, automatically right off the bat. Like you gotta hope like he cleans up against like Milwaukee's fifth guy in rotation. And if he doesn't, bro,
all right,
there's a better chance he gets 0 than he does 12.
All right, final thoughts. Anything, Tro? Any final thoughts, Shally?
No, I'm good.
I do want to take a second, shout out one of our listeners, Bob Tierney. His birthday is today. Also send a second birthday shout out to Timmy Todd, whose birthday was 2 days ago. We shouted him out last week, but he listens every week. He's literally one of the first people to get in the comments. He shares us out every week. So you get 2 birthday shout outs.
Gene, I'm sorry. I lied. I got 2 things.
Go ahead.
First one, real quick, because you brought that up. Father's Day is on Sunday. Know a lot of you guys that are in the chats that are dads. So want to wish you guys early happy Father's Day. Appreciate all the support from all the dads out there. So wishing all the dads happy Father's Day. And then the other thing too is that me and Bill talked about this a little bit on the side. We asked about the Euros are coming up. He wanted to know who I had winning. I'm just putting it out there on record now. I like Germany to win the Euros. Grass ping pong, as Gene likes to call it, for soccer. Like Germany, I think they got the young team. I think they're ready to go, and I think they're about to make some noise before the Olympics.
I am actually going to take the bogus. If they don't win with this squad, they're never going to win it. And I just think lightning has to strike eventually. I'm going to go with England. But I do have England, Germany in the final. That's my final. Starts Friday. Going on for the next month. It's pretty much a mini World Cup. That's really what it is. So if you're a soccer fan, you will definitely be watching. Also to echo, happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there. It's your day. Enjoy it. It's one of the best blessings you can ever receive. So enjoy your day. Me and Gene will be drinking heavily on Sunday.
Yep. That's exactly what I'll be doing. I'll end on a fun note. I will, want to take a second. Obviously last week we talked about we would be in a championship game this past week. Last week, we went to the championship yesterday, Tuesday night softball, SBA, and we lost in 3 games. It was a great fought series. And I want to shout out to the classy guys on the other team, Bombs, Tom Ivers, Tyler Gower, Ryan Hable, a lot of Shane Hanna, a lot of real classy guys on the other side. So I'll give those guys a shout out. Those guys know how to win and lose. So just want to give those guys a shout out. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to Wire2Wire Sports Podcast. I'm the NFL genius, Gene Walzak. That's Kent State's own Cleveland's own College Cottrell and Scholastic Uncle Shally. We are signing out.